Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup Council. How are we all? Hopefully, all of you are on a fantastic day from wherever you are around the world. And welcome back to another transfer video for you guys today. Yes, transfer videos will be coming to an end because the Reds will be back in pre-season in about, 3 or 4 days' time? So thank the Lord that football is back and it can stop all the nonsense rumours anyway, but we are here to talk, of course, about Liverpool being linked to Porto's Otávio. I think I've pronounced that correctly. If I haven't, then I do apologise. And also Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. There's been some mixed reports about his future at the club anyway. And of course, you can see I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Jack McKendo himself. Jack, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. Hopefully everyone in chat is looking after one another as well. But yeah, thank you for having me on, mate. Obviously, you were on my show at 7 p.m, so I appreciate you jumping on that, mate. We, sorry to plug it, but we talked about, obviously, Curtis Jones, and obviously the midfield will be an interesting talking point going into this season, mate, but which we'll discuss already tonight, mate. But yeah, if you want to see Connor on the channel, Mick and the boys and Connor on as well. So thank you for coming on the show tonight, mate, on my channel. But yeah, thank you for inviting me to come on yours as well.
Absolute pleasure, man.
The magic duo. Yeah. I think we'd probably get about like one goal between us if we were playing up front for Liverpool. Like,
one goal. Well, just like it's like that thing in it. It's like we'll literally be the Chuckle Brothers together, where it's like pass to me, pass to you. Oh, Jesus Christ! Imagine that. That'd be hilarious to see. Anyway, but guys, let us know how old you are as well in the chat. As well, Brian Morris is in as well, saying hi, guys, as well. Hello, Brian. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And Phil is in here as well, saying hi as well. But as well, guys, if you guys have seen on Twitter as well, our thoughts go to Jamie Phillips as well. If you guys know, you'll know. But of course, absolute fantastic fella, and of course, our thoughts with him and his family at the moment as well. If you guys don't know, then please head over to Twitter, and you'll know basically. But yeah, all of our thoughts go to him and his family at the minute. Anyway, but we'll get straight into the news then, concerning, of course, Otávio, and guys, of course, transfer. Again, it's silly season, but it has been reported by a reliable Portuguese outlet saying that Liverpool rekindles interest in Otávio, and there's already been talks. Now, the article does go on to say that his agent has been in Liverpool over the last week. Somehow,
I've not seen him. Was not sad. My gaff.
Jack's there with his binoculars, as you know. But but the other thing that it did say as well, that his agent's been in Liverpool for the last week trying negotiating a deal, and supposedly there's meant to be a £34.5 million release clause that doesn't get activated until the 17th of July, which, yeah, if you read all in between the lines, you can pretty much get where we're coming from with this anyway. But Jack, before we do even, deny or, what's in the rumours, Otávio, mate, it's one of these ones where, he's 27, plays on the right, can play in central midfield as well. It's just not a Liverpool profile, is it? That, we particularly, we've looked at midfielders, for example, Jude Bellingham, Barella as well has also got linked again today, I think, by Italian journalists, which of course you'll be very happy about. But again, it's just not a profile that Liverpool are going after at the minute, is there?
Yeah, as you say in the courtroom, hearsay, Your Honour, because it is absolutely hearsay. I don't even know who this lad is, and being honest, Corey. I don't. He probably did play against us, mate, as we said, mate, and then I've not seen him on Merseyside, because I've got nothing better to do than walk the streets of Liverpool, as you all know.
All right, Batman, calm down.
But more like the Penguin, more like that. But we'll move on from that. But yeah, mate, you can understand obviously the links with Salah potentially moving, whether that be this summer or obviously the when his contract does expire. Liverpool probably potentially will be, and currently still are, in the market for another right forward or right mid, right winger, whatever / you want to call it. And everyone in the NAM will be getting linked with Liverpool. Otávio, no disrespect to the lad, but he's not the profile of a Liverpool type player. I don't know how Chat would feel as well. I think from when you've been doing your shows, a lot of people mentioned Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen, or a player of that ilk, a player that very much. Otávio doesn't fit Liverpool's system for me. I think more of a player like a Jared Bowen, someone that's Premier League proven, someone that can play through the middle as well, and on the right and on the left as well. And given his age bracket as well, I think Otávio's 26, 27 years old as well. So he's not really at that right age that Liverpool tend to do the business, unless you're an elite level player like Thiago. It's an example really that unless he's that age, like 30 or like a Sadio Mane, if you were to get a Sadio Mane from another club of that quality and that ability, then yeah, I'd be like sound. But it's interesting, mate. I think it's very reminiscent of obviously Liverpool getting linked with another player from in and around Europe, and as we've said, as me and you have spoken, a lot of people have said on their channels over the last couple of years, when Liverpool, the English media do say it the best. If you just link Liverpool in a title, or like it gets traction for these massive publications to sell more copies basically in it. So I think it's a load of bollocks. Pardon my French. Load of rubbish. Is Connor's monetizing gone out the window? Sorry, lad.
It's completely gone.
But yeah. Pardon my French, but I think that's what it is, mate.
No, for God's sake, I hate you. But no, it does scream that. And I'm glad you actually mentioned and actually brought that up, because supposedly Leeds United got I think a £23 million bid rejected last week, and now this story has suddenly appeared. Now, if people have good memories, people remember last year this was the exact same story that broke last year in Portugal, around the time where Liverpool supposedly was done in the market. And again, it's come out the exact same story.
Remember Connor and Chat as well. I remember those years ago when Brazilian Hulk was at his peak, like back in his day, before he went to Russia and China, wherever he is now. Like it's just typical. Like you get those names. It was Fekir a couple of years ago. It was Lorik Ademi back in the day as well. Like Wesley Sneijder was the transfer that always got me. Joe, when you like Chat as well, I don't know if you can name a transfer, but for me, he always used to be Wesley Sneijder. Every single season that passed by, we used to get linked to him.
It was always Marco Reus is another one as well that we constantly got linked with for years. And even I think it was Klopp's first summer where I think literally all the Dortmund team got linked to Liverpool, which was just hilarious as well. But of course, you guys can't tell by us anyway. It's a load of nonsense. Of course, the release clause is true. The £34 million release clause, that's true. But according to Neil Jones, anyway, he was quick this morning to quickly destroy the rumours anyway, saying told there's no truth in the reports linking Liverpool with a move Porto's Otávio this summer, not a target, and has never been as well. And of course, Fabrizio Romano as well, also saying that both Liverpool and Porto deny all the stories about Otávio deal. There are no negotiations ongoing. Also, the release clause is €40 million and not €60 million. €60 million was actually last year, supposedly at the end of July last year. Otávio and Wijnaldum are not in the list for Liverpool as things stand. It's still a long market, but no talks of these two, which of course we all know now. It's never ever going to be Gini Wijnaldum back at Liverpool, and especially Otávio as well. But looking at the stats as well, 6 goals, 12 assists in all competitions last year, only 3 goals, and I think 9 assists in the Premier League for last year. 11 assists last season. So he only got 1 assist for Portugal last year as well. But again, just looking at the games of where he's played, mainly on that right hand side, 26 appearances as a right winger last season for Porto, which again, that position we've got covered, haven't we, with Mo Salah there. We've got the likes of Jota that can play on the right, Harvey Elliott as well. Liverpool already have depth in. I know plenty of people go, oh well, Liverpool need a midfielder if we'll talk about a bit later on about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain potentially goes, or if something happens to another midfielder. But for me, it's just a player that Liverpool don't need. It's one of those stopgap type players if that was ever going to become a thing. And we've known from plenty of the reliable journos that Liverpool aren't going after that type of player this summer.
Yeah, 100% there, la. And Chris, it's obviously because recently I've been getting migraines, la, so it's not a change of appearance with my glasses, mate. But yeah, because I've been looking at the screens all day, mate. So yeah,
practically Jack's becoming a musician now. That's
gone full John Lennon. Yeah, peace out.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts anyway about the whole nonsense with Otávio as well, and just let us know. Do you believe the rumors? But I again would say absolutely not. Of course, reliable people saying that it's a load of nonsense as well. But Gary's in saying Connor and Jack as well.
Yes, Gary.
Guys as well. Evening, lads. Hope you're well. What's for the glasses, Jack? We just mentioned that. Hi, Colin and Jack, as well as Cedric. Niles in as well, saying big up, guys. Oh, big up, lads. Hello, Niall as well. Brian says, apparently Otavia's not going to do a job at left back. Hey, that would have done us a world of good back. What?
Better job than Konchesky, put it that way. Yeah, Brian.
Jesus Christ, that's just a conversation I don't want to have. But poor Konchesky. I expect a rebuild in midfield next summer, says Chris. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Cross comes in, Romano taps it in. A lot of people. A lot of people say that about Fabrizio Romano. It's just too easy to link us to Portuguese-based players now. Agents pushing the name out there too. Yeah, exactly. And look, if the reports are true about Leeds supposedly meant to be, the bid of 23 million got rejected, of course Porto are going to, quickly bring out the rumours of, oh, look, Liverpool are trying to get him, and then Leeds are panicking then and trying to buy him for, up towards what the release clause is going to be anyway. Come the middle of July as well. But Jeannie's in as well, saying evening, lads, as well.
How many accounts have you got, Ginny, lad? I think he's got about 20, hasn't he? I love it, lad.
Bring more accounts, just more and more. But the funniest thing is, though, Jack, as well, in terms of midfield, and it kind of links in with the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain stuff that we'll mention a bit later on. But again, I think Neil Jones did a good piece today on Goal, saying that the Liverpool are happy and want to, they understand that the midfield is an area that needs improving on. Tchouaméni was quite clearly a target for Liverpool, but of course they knew early on that he wanted only Madrid. Now, I know plenty of people are like, oh, we'll go and get Bellingham. Now you'll have pressure off Chelsea and Man City and things like that. But it's again one of those situations where we all know that Jude Bellingham wants Liverpool. He's practically teased Liverpool over the last year and a half about it, and it's the fact that I think it's already set in stone. Of course, transfers are not always just straight carbon copy, and we all know about I think, but of course Liverpool just don't have all their eggs in one basket. It's obviously Jude Bellingham is the prime target, but there's also option 2, 3, 4, and 5 as well. Barella getting linked as well, Sangara as well also being linked from PSV as well. But what would be your opinion about the midfield? Do you think that Liverpool are okay for this season, and do you think that is it that carbon copy that Jude Bellingham will come to Liverpool next year?
There's always room to improve in any club in Europe, mate, and Liverpool is no different really. If you look at every position within every team, you could always identify a weak point, and obviously Liverpool's midfield, yes, it can be improved and it needs improving. But I think the most important thing, as you were on a show before today, mate, and everyone tuning in, Curtis Jones still got a bright future, only 21 years old, still got a lot of development. Harvey Elliott, still 18, 19 years old anyway, still young in terms of development. Milner, yes, he signed a 12-month contract extension, but I think that's a massive indication to see what's going to be happening next season, mate. In chat, I think all of us know and we're all well adversed in terms of how Borussia Dortmund run their business. They would never, haven't ever sold two big high-profile players within the same window. They had Dembele, sold him first. Then they had Sancho, he went. Then it was Haaland, and next summer it will be Jude Bellingham. And then that's when he will become available. Because it makes financial sense for Dortmund in terms of the way they run as a business. Yes, it's not ideal. Liverpool could go out, get a Bellingham or a Barella or another top-class midfielder. But it all comes down to the availability within Liverpool. It's all right us potentially saying, we want to sign a player. And I think for me, and I've been on record over the last 2-3 years on my channel, mate, and a lot of people have, whether you've been speaking to your mate in the pub or wherever, Liverpool do need to improve in the midfield, but we need to get players, one or two players, off the wage bill as well. We'll speak about Oxlade-Chamberlain, and he's 12 left contracts, which we'll discuss in the next minute. He will be on a lot of wages. Not a lot of clubs within the Premier League will be able to cater to those wages. As we said, Milner potentially leaving next summer. So that would free up another English spot, English being Jude Bellingham. And especially where to lose two English players within the team. It just, you don't have to be a brain scientist or a rocket scientist to say Liverpool will potentially need to replace one of those spots next summer with an English player or a British player that is under the age of 23 years old anyway, to cater to that age bracket and the thing. It's all right. I don't see us making a move in this window for a midfielder. Only if something drastically did happen in relation to Liverpool as we mentioned, with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in, mate. If someone did put a bid in for Ox, or if Liverpool suffered a massive injury in pre-season to one of our midfielders, i.e. a Thiago or a Henderson, then I'd foresee Liverpool making a move in the window. Because you've got Carvalho, he can play as a central midfielder. I know he's more of an attacking 10, creative midfielder, but he can play in midfield. Curtis Jones, Naby, if he is fully fit, and we see into the back end of last season he can be, then yeah, I'd love to see us sign, as he's it's a running joke between me and you, Barella, because I think he would fit Liverpool's system down to a T if we did play with a 4-3-3 formation down that right-hand side. Because I think he's complemented Liverpool in terms of defensively, as well as going forward as well, down that right-hand flank in the midfield three. Perfect. Or it was a Jude Bellingham, but it's interesting. But whatever Jurgen Klopp decides, Con, and all of us, Jurgen watches these players day in, day out, and he knows exactly what the next 5-year plan is for Liverpool, regardless of what me and Connor or anyone says on social media. Jurgen's like, sod you all, because whatever year, and it's still mad that people still question Jurgen Klopp's decision making, because the majority of everything he's done since moving to Liverpool has been absolutely spot on.
Perfect. Yeah.
So whatever does happen this summer, mate, we're in good hands. We could be an absolute train wreck of a club that is run from top to bottom. But
Man United.
So yeah. We'll speak about Ox in a minute, mate, so I'll tee it up to that.
Yeah, no, we will speak about Ox in a minute as well. And yeah, there's so many. I think this is, where we talk about, the likes of Virgil van Dijk, for example, as well, where you said it perfectly that, Liverpool won't go after people just for the sake of it. We'll wait. Virgil van Dijk, when that summer of 2018, when we knew that, of course, we couldn't get Virgil. We end up getting in January. We could have easily gone after Laporte. I think Laporte was also on the list, but Jurgen was like, "No, I want this person," and everyone was like, "Oh, why haven't Liverpool signed a defender?" Jurgen Klopp this, Jurgen Klopp that. And it's like, well, he proved us all wrong, didn't he? And again, it's like Jack said, what do we know about football? Yeah, we might have an opinion, but again, it's one of these things where he knows and the team knows a lot more than what we do as fans.
He's coming though, Con, and he chat as well. He is coming, Curtis. I think everyone, Bellingham sent everyone off their door handles this morning, because I think didn't he reply? He put in Jordan Henderson's Instagram post today, didn't he? Legend. So our Liverpool English lads have already done the business, and I'm pretty sure
I think Hendo's had a word
Yeah,
about it
100%.
because whenever you see England content, Jordan Henderson is like this with Jude Bellingham. Like he is glued to him. So it's like, just nurturing is like, you know what to do, Jude. Come to Liverpool. We've already got the song for you made up already.
The Beatles song will be
Yeah.
blasting at over 50,000 Scousers in Anfield, or the travelling cop. Anyway, it's all gonna be fit. It's all part of the plan as well. Don't be panicking, everyone. We'll be fine.
It's the master plan anyway. But guys, let us know your thoughts anyway in the chat as well. This Asensio link gaining traction, absolutely.
Bull.
It's again. I mentioned this last week. Again, it's Isco 2.0, where Isco constantly got linked with Liverpool for years, and nothing, of course, happened. And now everyone's like, "Oh, Asensio's coming to Liverpool." No, he's not.
He'll probably end up at Newcastle if he was to move to an English club, because they'll take anyone and everyone at this moment in time because of where they do find themselves as a club at the minute.
I think they've just signed. This is Sven Botman from Lille at the minute, so it's a good signing. But I think it's like what £35 million, which is ridiculous.
He's still a very good player, but I just don't foresee it. I think it's just one of those Spanish newspapers linking typically.
Yeah, I don't want Sangara or Asensio. No, I would agree as well. Young dairy lad joining the family hood. I did see that. I think
another Trent.
Yeah, to be fair, I think he's joining the 1st of July because that's when he turns 16.
17, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's, hopefully another good great Trent as well. Bellingham will help Doug on his honeymoon, I reckon.
Yeah, that can be really.
If it happens, then yeah, sure. This is a big year for Jones, in my opinion. He hasn't really pushed on. I know he's young, but it's a harsh world at the top, like we spoke about on Jack's channel. He does have a lot of progression still to go, and look at his age. Again, I think we spoke about it on Jack's channel. Disruption, I think, was the main words that's been used for Curtis Jones.
He was out. Yeah, he was out for 61 days last summer. When it was, and we spoke about it. And he's spot on there, Brian. When you are at an elite club, regardless of whoever you are, you need to, whatever minutes, whatever opportunities you get, you need to hit the ground running. But all of us were supporting him, and I think Curtis himself probably beats himself up the most, as he would. But he's got the tools. At the end of the day, he wouldn't have been able to get through Liverpool's academy if he was a terrible footballer. So we know there's quality there. And the fact that him and Trent have come through the academy together as well, to detriment to the lads we've all seen as qualities in glimpses, but what we need going to next season, Brian, you said, and Cass, is we need to see a lot more consistent levels of performances from Curtis. And those will come with more game time under his belt and everything, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd agree with you on that as well. But we'll move on then to Ox and the news around Ox anyway. And this is from, like we did mention that what's his name? Neil Jones, sorry, from Gold did an article today about midfielders, and he did speak about Ox as well in his little piece on goal.com, saying, as for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, the word from inside Liverpool is that he's likely to stay, but his contract expires next summer, and an offer of £12 million would surely offer plenty of temptation as well. This was on this is Anfield as well. They're talking about all the rumours. Well, this according to the Echo, saying that the Anfield insiders say there are currently no plans to sell in the current window. But then as well, they did also say that Athletics' James Pearce has now stated that Liverpool won't stand in his way if the right opportunity came up regarding the £10 million valuation as well. But Jack, obviously with we've just spoken about midfielders coming up as well. Could you see, if Ox was to go, say if the money was right, some club offered, in the region of 10, 12 million pounds, Ox, he's in the final year of his contract. For me, there isn't many clubs out there that is looking for a midfielder like Ox in a minute. Obviously, the rumours, back a month ago now, was West Ham were very interested in bringing him in, but now they've brought in, well, by the looks of things, Jesse Lingard at the moment. But could you see? Well, first of all, could you see Ox staying at Liverpool for the remainder of his career? His contract, sorry, because of course it's a World Cup year as well. But in saying that as well, do you think he'll want to leave Liverpool to get his name on that team sheet? Because you look at it, I think what is it now? I think FIFA have said that it's going to be a 26-man squad.
26, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that he could go out to, and where do you think as well? Because for me, I don't think there is teams out there at the minute looking for a player like that. But then in saying that, my English international, plenty of quality there. It's a strange one.
There'll always be a taker for Ox, mate, and I'm just gutted that his career hasn't really propelled to levels in which we all hoped and wished and thought it would have. Because given at the time frame and when he did come in, he was probably one of England's best players before he was getting all those injuries, really. And when I watched him when he was a younger, or when he was playing for Arsenal anyway, when he was playing for England, the odd occasion I did watch England, he was always the player that did stand out. And obviously that game against Roma in the Champions League, the goal against City stands out in the very early stages of his Liverpool career, but the Roma game, his injury, it's just not being helped. They've hindered his development as a player, and it's quite sad to see, because I think Ox is exactly what we need if he wasn't injured. Player that can drive this Liverpool midfield on into like those pockets of spaces outside of the edge of the box, really. And we've seen prior to his injuries, he's got quality for him to go. He's got the power. But what we haven't said, and what we said, is consistency. With Ox, yes, that comes with being able to be selected week in, week out. And we've seen that last season. But if he was on a free, I'd say next season you'll have a lot of clubs going in for him, even a Newcastle, Leicester, West Ham as well, because obviously depending on where his girlfriend, obviously congratulations as well, he's just been married and he's got he's had a young child on the way over the last 12 months as well, so he's got to look after them. But I foresee him staying for the next 12 months, only due to the fact, as I said before, mate, the wages might be a difficult factor for any potential team wanting to sign him, because he won't be on pocket change. He'll be on like easy 70 to 120k. I'm not too sure on the official figure, but being around that ballpark. But I think for the fact that we've mentioned Milner's got a new contract extension for this summer and the availability of Jude Bellingham for next summer, Ox won't like it, but at the end of the day, Liverpool paying his wages and it's last chance saloon, really. But I think all of us know that Ox will be going next summer. But ideally, for his development, and I'd like to see him move on this summer, just because it frees up an opportunity for another player within Liverpool's academy, or potentially bringing someone in. It opens that door for other possibilities, but I don't see him moving until next summer, as I said, due to the wages, mate.
Yeah.
He frustrates me so much, Con. And when me and you've seen him as well, he's probably one of the, and chat as well, let me know, he's one of the players when you watch him, the minutes and the minutes and seconds he does have, and you're like, just come on, give us something. Like, just do something. Like, you've got the quality in there.
Well, we spoke about him last year, didn't we, in pre-season? We were like, I think me and you, we were coming out of Anfield, and again, it's bad to, look at it in pre-season, but we were like, he was the only person that looked obviously not fresh, but he looked like the Ox of old. Last year he was playing in that centre forward role, and we were like, well, maybe he could be, a backup for, Bobby, and try and, offer something that way. And then the season starts, and again, he plays to a decent amount, but then he has those games against West Ham, the game against Brighton. I think me and you have spoke about it plenty of times where, Jurgen Klopp had to practically coach him for the entirety of the game. Of course, it's very difficult to, I think Liverpool were quite short on midfielders that day, and he had to play a bit more defensively. But, even though for a player that's played, in the defensive system under Arsenal, he was playing right wing back at times for Arsenal, that knows, defensive, under Wenger, if Jurgen Klopp shouldn't be, babysitting Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for the entirety of the game with that. And it does lead you to frustration because, I think, the last game he played for Liverpool was, of course, against Nottingham Forest in the Cup. And it was just his, me and you spoke about, even Douglas spoke about this as well, his attitude, where he was like, I haven't played in weeks and things. And we understand it's frustrating for Ox. He wants to be playing first team football, but we've never ever seen that before from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and going, I haven't played for, and he just, and I would understand it if he had played well in the game, but if we were being brutally honest, he was terrible against Nottingham Forest. He wasn't good.
And as soon as I see that, mate, and all of us, we're not body language experts, but I'll tell you what, as soon as that game finished, that would have been, and you see in his face the weeks after that game as well. He was sat behind Jurgen Klopp looking glum and unhappy, and Jurgen Klopp would have given an absolute rollicking, and quite rightly so. Jurgen probably turned round to him, said after the full time, went, showed millions of our fans exactly what you think. Like, fair enough, put your performances in, as you said there, Con. If he was putting in 10 out of 10 performances, or even 6, 7 out of 10 for like a run of games, and obviously the 2 back-to-back goals in the African Cup of Nations period around that time was massive and was made up. He scored the goals, but you need more in certain games. You're playing for Liverpool Football Club, and that just doesn't go to, if we were speaking about Ox, it goes to every single player that represents Liverpool Football Club. Whether you get 10 seconds on the pitch or you get a 5-year career or 6-year career, you've got to give everything on the football pitch. Yes, I understand he might be sometimes jumping out of 50-50s due to his prior injury records, but footballers' careers are very short. And I think come the end of his career, when it does happen in about 5-6 years, how long it is, he'll be regretting his moments at Liverpool and think, I should have really given a bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you mentioned the AFCON situation as well. I honestly thought he'd push on from that as well. The 2 goals, that would have given him a huge amount of confidence and a confidence booster. And then again, he just fell off a cliff yet again. And look, Jurgen has spoken about, I think against Southampton, wasn't it? He was gutted that he couldn't give Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain a go. But again, I think if Ox was, performing to, the ability that we all know that he can, I think Jurgen would have brought him on in that game. I think it was just the reliability of, like we've spoken about the Brighton game, where Liverpool need to secure a win. That was the reason why he didn't come on. But again, we're speaking about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. If Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain could become the player he was prior to the injury, and of course it was a huge injury that happened against Roma, there is a very, very good and quality player there for a club that, again, you'd probably get into the majority of Premier League teams. You look at, I wouldn't say, potentially a newly promoted side, Nottingham Forest, if they were in the league next year, even a Brentford as well, potentially. There are options out there. And again, I'd agree with Jack. I think next year, Liverpool will just say, no, look, we'll allow you to go on a free. Because go on.
Yeah, so it's when you look at the game against Real Madrid, when we played Real in the final this year again, you don't bring Alex Oxlade. That's a sad reality. You don't bring the Ox on to win a game in the Champions League final, do you?
No.
And that's not me being harsh. That's just the reality in which we do find ourselves in. Ideally, if Ox was playing at his peak level, potentially on another parallel bloody universe, if he was that good and that level, but yeah,
it's frustrating, isn't it? I think that's the big thing since Ox with the injury. It's frustration. We all want him to do well, but it's just he can't get over that line as well. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the chat anyway, because I think, look, for me, I think Liverpool will allow him the extra year. Now I don't think Liverpool will get rid of him. And then the big question then is for Ox. You'll have a whole season to pick and choose where he wants to go next. Of course, there was rumours, I think, a couple of months ago saying that he wanted to go back down, south and back down to the coast. But I think it does depend what his family wants, of course, because they are settled now up the north as well. Anyway, but guys, let us know your thoughts in the chat. Anyway, Brian says, I think he stays going on next year. on his best option financially, and replacing him with someone to fill a squad place isn't easy. Yeah, I would agree, absolutely. He has declared for Northern Ireland. I think that's the young lad. Anyway, signed an interesting lad for the under-23s, right? I think that was with, again, the
young Trent lad.
Yeah, I agree, Gary. I'd rather keep Ox as well. Ox going nowhere, says Gary as well. He has so much promise. Ox as well. Yeah, again, it's a shame, isn't it, that again, since the injury, he hasn't been able to bounce on and get that game time that he'd want.
It's injuries, isn't it? Obviously, the big main one, the knee injury against Roma as well, mate. But we had it with Danny Ings. I tell you what, he was probably one of the most perfect Jurgen Klopp players, Danny Ings, if he actually didn't get injured. Christ, in a Liverpool system, I know. Obviously, people were like, "What, Danny Ings?" Well, when we signed him, we were like, "Oh yeah."
Well, remember when him and Sturridge started getting a partnership together, and we were like, "Oh, this could be, interesting." And then, of course, both of them got injured. I think a week within each other. So, I think then we were in. I think was that the season where Benteke signed as well. I think so. Yeah. So I think that was So. Jesus Christ, Christian Benteke in a Liverpool shirt. To be fair, the Ox, he did well. Did well covering Salah. Yeah, no, he did absolutely. Against Forest, he was at a shite. Yeah, I would agree. I love a Liverpool team with a couple of Scotsmen and Irishmen, but he's years off even if he makes it, mate. I think that's with the young lad as well. We have a lot of old injury-prone legs in midfield, boys. Yeah, we do, and I think that's the whole. I think next year, if we're being honest, I think 2 midfielders have to come in the door next summer. Whether that be, of course, like we've already spoken about, Jude Bellingham or someone like that. But I think, we'll see over the next 2-3 years that the entirety of the midfield, because we've spoken about James Milner, leaving next year. I think then Jordan Henderson might go into that James Milner role. Of course, still cup captain and that, but I think he moves more into that 6 role as well. Where I think Jurgen Klopp spoke about it, didn't he? Saying that he wants him as a 6, but of course has to play him as an 8 because again he's such important in both positions for Liverpool. I think Ox and Bobby are playing for a year extension. Again, Bobby's a mad one as well. Him potentially going next year as well.
It wouldn't surprise me, kind of Bobby chat as well. Let me know. I've got a feeling Bobby will sign a new contract extension. Just he loves Liverpool, and I wouldn't be bothered because he's the ultimate professional. And if I'm a young player, I want to be surrounded by players like Bobby who gives you 110% in training and everything. Because he's 30 odd. He's not going to deteriorate, and he's not a player that is very highly dependent on the speed of his game.
Yeah.
He dictates the tempo of a game to his ability on the ball. He's a typical Brazilian, ball at his feet, spin around about 5 players and then put a ball in the back of the net. So yeah,
well, I'm looking now on the Football Stats website, and Bobby Firmino is literally, excuse me, he's literally in high green for everything apart from clearances and aerial duels won. Like, that's how good he is. Like,
if he was playing for Burnley, he'd be top of them.
For God's sake. Well, to be fair, now they're under Vincent Kompany, so we don't know what on earth
that's going to
be like next year.
They're going to League One with Vinny. Christ.
Well, to be fair, the number 1 player, number 2 player, similar to Bobby Firmino, is Diogo Jota. Number 1, Christopher Nkunku. So maybe next summer.
Oh, Christ. Maybe. If you need a bit of extra 100 viewers on your video, can just drop that name in next.
Don't worry, I did it last week and people were like, "Oh, like Christopher Nkunku to Liverpool." It's like, Jesus Christ, I've mentioned him for 5 seconds.
I love it. We all love it.
Yeah, to be fair. Did you see Andros Townsend having a pop of Klopp? Nothing better to do, I suppose. Yeah, I did read what he said, and it's laughable, isn't it? Where Jurgen's got under the blue and white shite's skin yet again.
Far too easy. Like, Brian, this is just it's for the beneficial factor of all the players. If Townsend was any good, he would be getting in England's national team. And he personally, if he was good enough to get in Everton's starting 11, he'd be playing 60-odd games a season. But in reality, he's playing, 20 games a season, sitting on his backside, probably earning 50, 60, 70-odd grand a week for doing diddly squat, really. It's for the players at the elite level. And the fact that, obviously, Trent's in the red zone in sports science, when you look at it and certain Liverpool players, Liverpool's players have played about 70, even City's. And for teams where they want to be, yes, it benefits Liverpool and City, the extra subs. But at the end of the day, it benefits every team. But if Everton actually spent their money quite wisely over the last 5-6 years, and they were competing for the European Cup or something, then you wouldn't have Everton players moaning then, would you, Townsend? So shut your gob, Townsend.
Genie, that's all he turned around and said was bitch and moan about Klopp getting his way about the 5-sub rule, saying that practically Klopp kicked off and got his own way, which, let's be honest, it wasn't just Jurgen Klopp going on about players' well-beings.
It was Pep Guardiola as well, and all the top managers.
Well, it was only Burnley and was it Burnley and Everton that rejected it first of all? Or there was 4 teams that were massively against it, and it's well, they're looking out for players' welfare, because the problem is we have now this year, especially, this is that, of course, it doesn't include all players, but for the players going to the World Cup as well, already a demanding season as it is already, to put a World Cup, in winter time as well. It's going to be draining for those players that do go out there. So with the 5-subs rule, it helps in some way, in some category of it, because, look at the end of the day, people are going to be playing, if they do go to World Cup and do, go on to have a very successful season, they could end up playing, at the top end of 70 games in a season, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's all the travelling as well now, or it's easy for those football fans, whether team support, to go, the modern day science as well. Hi, Jordan, mate, as well. Thank you for tuning in. Well, it's easy for the fans to go, yeah, and X, Y, and Z, and it is. But when you're an elite level athlete, psychologically as well as mentally as well, they're human. They're not robots. And that's all that Jurgen Klopp and all managers in Europe are just asking. Just a bit more space in between games. Because yes, everyone goes, "Oh, Klopp's moaning again," but he's only moaning because he gets all the data every single week, and these players are getting overworked, and you will see more players in the next 5 to 6 years get injured, and that's for the point. You will see a lot more younger players get absolutely destroyed with their injuries. Look at Michael Owen when he was a youngster, burst onto the scene, and then his career was tarnished. As well, and obviously Rashford to an extent, he's destroyed his career because he's played so many games. And what you don't want was with Trent, we don't want him to be playing as many games, as good as he is, but we don't want him to be burning out. Same with Elliott as well. So it's just about nurturing the players that you've got at the football club at the right level and at the right time, really.
Yeah, exactly. I would 100% agree with you on that as well, and Genie applauding it as well anyway. But guys, we will leave it there for tonight anyway. We've been going for about 45 minutes, and again, look, like I did say, rumours and whispers, they are going to be the main things for Liverpool now. It's only outgoings now. Of course, I'm not going to say 100% or Liverpool are done and dusted for this window, but the likelihood of it, of course, again, is very, very rare that Liverpool will sign anyone this summer, because I was reading a couple of comments on Twitter and people were everyone's saying that, Liverpool are done for this window, Liverpool always prove people wrong, and it's well, if everyone at the club is saying that it's done, then, it's a high chance that everything is done at Liverpool anyway. But of course, we'll bring other videos to you on the channel. Because of course pre-season starts next week. Of course the Reds.
Is it next week we're starting? Yeah.
Well, next week I think everyone's back in training. I think it's next week everyone's back in training, and then we play Man United in Bangkok on the 12th. I know you're going to laugh at that. On the 12th of July.
No, I've just seen North comment there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that one.
Peace and love, man.
To be fair, Jack was at Glastonbury last night, and that was his outfit for the night.
I wouldn't last 10 minutes at Glastonbury. I'd be that bevied after about 5 pints, and you'd probably find me in Birkenhead or something. Like, how have I got here?
To be fair, Jack's terrible after a shandy, after night out. Just saying. To all to United. Here we are. Yeah, United are just crap at the minute.
We love it. We love it, Chinny. We love it. Just they haven't even signed a player. Neither have they. And they are both teams are absolutely.
Well, the package deal for Tottenham, like apparently, Gordon and Richarlison's both going to Spurs, which I don't. It would be magical, but I just don't get it. Personally, I think was it £60 million has been talked about for both. Like,
wouldn't even pay 20 quid for Richarlison. Don't think any of us would.
No, absolutely not. Anyway, but guys, we are going to leave it there for tonight, like we did say. Big thank you to Jack for popping on as well. Have you got anything else coming up? Of course, we spoke about Curtis Jones. If you want to give that another plug.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Obviously, if you missed my episode tonight, I've done it on 7 p.m. Me, Con, and obviously Mick, Ricky from the 1892 Reds podcast as well. Just discussed the Curtis Jones. Obviously, I think we're going to get Con on hopefully and potentially use as well. We're in the build up to the new season. Player profiles going into this season. We've done a player profile for this season on Curtis Jones, and obviously we discussed the midfield debate tonight, and obviously Curtis Jones still 21. It's a massive season for him as well. And yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Con, as well. And most importantly, thank you to every single one of you that does continue to tune in on all of our content, everyone. If you are watching on the repeat, make sure you do smash those likes up as well, and subscribe to the Cop Council as well, everyone. But thank you very much for having me on, mate. And I cannot wait for the new season to start.
I can't neither, to be fair. And if anyone is going to the game at Anfield, the last game of pre-season, of course, us two will be there for sure.
Yes, so say hello.
If anyone is, then come and say hello. People did come and say hello last year, and it was very, very weird. It
was like Connor. I went to match. Connor was like Tom Cruise. Everyone was going, "Hello, Connor." I was like, "Bloody hell, lads, you're getting big, aren't you?" I was like, "Go on, Connor."
I hated him for the rest of the day because he kept on calling me big time after that, which I hated 100% anyway. But she needs a large chat and you never walk alone. Daz in as well saying, I think that's the evening, guys. How are you doing today? Big up Daz as well. Luca's in as well. And North Red is saying, you never walk alone, y'all as well. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in as well. If you haven't already, then please feel free to leave a like. It does massively help out the channel and the algorithm. And if you're new around here, then please hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell because YouTube are terrible with notifications anyway. But guys, hopefully we'll be back tomorrow with a show if there's any news or anything. We'll have other bits and pieces on the channel as well throughout the week as well. But until then, guys, that's going to be it from me. I've been Connor from the Cop Council. See you all then. Ta-ra.